What's up, guys? This is Jimmy with HIFLY Fitness, and today we're on the call with Bryce Lewis, who is an accomplished powerlifter, bodybuilder, strength coach, and he's even played volleyball. We're going to be talking about some controversial things. It may or may not be that controversial. We'd like to clear up CrossFit, and then in the further video, we'll be talking about the RPE scale and different training principles that may or may not benefit you guys as viewers. So, Bryce, introduction about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and more in depth the training and the things that you've done with your athletic career.
Cool. So I started off playing volleyball in high school and college and started looking for ways to improve myself in volleyball. So I stumbled upon bodybuilding.com, ended up getting into natural bodybuilding through some friends that I met online, developed a pretty big support community that actually still exists today with a lot of the people that I know and the extended networks that we share. Spent 3 or 4 years competing in natural bodybuilding before making the switch to powerlifting and kind of just following the number of people that around us were all competing in natural bodybuilding. You know, I was an athlete originally with Team Salvation back when Team Salvation was a thing. And then I was coached by Lane Norton for, I think, a year. And finally 3DMJ, and that's where I really found my home. Even as I become a coach myself, I'm coached by Eric Helms of 3D Muscle Journey. So he does all my training, and we chat back and forth and, you know, make changes as time goes along to keep me progressing. So since that point, I've primarily stuck with powerlifting. I've kind of felt like it's been a calling for me. It's something I feel really passionate about. I enjoy it a tremendous amount. I've had a decent amount of success as well. And I placed 4th at USAPL Raw Nationals this year. With the disappointing performance, I feel like I could have done better, potentially. But that's all in the past now, and it's time to look forward. And best I've hit in competition are a 585 squat, a 420 bench, and a 700 deadlift. And gym PRs, a 620 squat, a 450 bench, and a 725 deadlift.
And those are all like last week, right?
Yeah, actually, I had a really productive training block, so those are all very recent PRs, so happy about that.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So kind of to segue, have you had an experience with CrossFit or CrossFit athletes? Because right now, and almost since its beginning, CrossFit has seemed to get a lot of hate because I guess that's what we're going to talk about. But what is your thoughts on CrossFit, and is there benefits to doing it? Is the injury rate that people think exists, is it as significant as we think? And then what do you think the reasons are that people are so negative towards CrossFit itself, and what are the benefits?
Well, we'll kind of have to take that piece by piece because there's quite a lot in that.
Right.
I don't have the same hate towards CrossFit that a lot of people do. I think primarily because you and I, and probably a lot of your listeners as well, come from the strength and conditioning community, probably powerlifting, probably some bodybuilding as well, maybe a few other disparate sports here and there, little MMA, but primarily powerlifting, I think. And they tend to view CrossFit in the light of powerlifting, as if they're trying to compare it to powerlifting. I think that's the wrong message. You know, the goals of CrossFit are a little bit different. CrossFit itself is seeing an extremely explosive renaissance period right now. And I was looking at some stats earlier today, actually. One of my good friends and clients, Ben Rudman, came out with a book basically giving a guide to people on the business side behind opening up a CrossFit gym. So as such, it has lots of statistics about CrossFit and its rise. Basically, we've seen a doubling in the amount of boxes in the U.S. over the last year. That's an extreme boost in popularity, well above strength and conditioning or anything to that effect. And I think they owe that to obviously culture and kind of the aesthetic of the CrossFit athlete, but also to the camaraderie and the fact that you are often in a class atmosphere with some of your friends, where you create friends through the class atmosphere. And it's something that I really don't see in powerlifting, you know, all that much. Powerlifting itself has just a fraction of the popularity of CrossFit, but you really don't see that type of camaraderie in the gym environment that you see in CrossFit. And that's one of the reasons why I think you may see such an increase in popularity there.
Right.
What were we getting to next?
Well, you're kind of talking about the popularity thing, but you also mentioned to me personally the whole idea of in grouping and why I mean, really why the hate is there because it seems like it's just a way for people to lift weights together and it's another form of exercise. But there's a lot of controversy because of the injury rates because you see videos online of people doing stupid movements, but you
Yep.
see a lot of that in powerlifting itself or any sport at the recreational gym.
Yeah, you
Uh,
absolutely would. I think people kind of latch on to a few things. The kipping pull up, as an example, the whole it's not a pull up, don't do it. But have to realize that the goal isn't to do a strict pull up. The goal is time
right.
under a strict concern that you need your chest to touch the bar. So under those concerns, I'm sure one or two people came up with the idea of making it a circular motion, which increases the speed and efficiency. We look for the same things in powerlifting. I think I made a post about this a long time ago, but the reason why sumo deadlifting was invented in the first place is because for a lot of people it can be a more efficient means of moving the barbell.
Right.
The goal isn't that your feet have to be this far apart and that you have to lift conventionally. It's just that you have to get the bar from point A to point B. So one or two people experimented with it, and now it's a legitimate stance. So um, I think it's a lot of hate for something that's in its infancy and that is rapidly growing to be something extremely big and honestly far bigger than powerlifting is right now.
Do you?
Um,
Yeah.
I think I missed the point on that.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, the point is, it gets hate on for no reason. But
Yep.
let's answer this question: do you think that a novice athlete should, if they're just starting to work out, would you recommend them to go see a CrossFit
Oh,
gym?
okay. Yeah, no, I would not.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of inefficiencies in CrossFit and there's a lot of room for danger, not because the workouts themselves are inherently dangerous, even though they may be the same as powerlifting or anything. We'd have to take a look at the injury rates and see if there's actually, a dramatic difference in the injury rates between something like powerlifting and something like CrossFit. I think that's hard because there's probably not any longitudinal studies because the sport's only been around for a relatively short time. But no, I wouldn't suggest it to someone new because by and large, CrossFit coaches are underqualified or not qualified at all and aren't teaching athletes movement at all. They're not teaching technique or the right way to do things for movements that are extremely complicated and that take athletes that are actually competing in a sport like weightlifting, for instance, years and years to learn. And you throw someone that's been training for maybe 6 months into a CrossFit environment and have them perform, muscle snatches and push presses and all these movements that really take time to learn properly. So, yeah, I mean, it's a popular movement. You're going to get caloric expenditure. You're probably going to be getting some um, muscle increase, but we have to define what's the goal, when someone decides to start training. For someone like me, the goal is to increase my 1 rep max on the squat, the bench, and the deadlift, period. I was willing to change my stance, do whatever kind of programming it takes to get me to that point. For people that truly compete in weightlifting, the goal is to, get a better 1 rep max on your snatch and a 1 rep max on your clean and press, maybe your back squat as well and your front
Right.
squat. But I think that a huge majority of the people that participate in CrossFit aren't looking to compete in CrossFit. They're just looking for a workout,
Right.
the modern equivalent of boot camp or Zumba or something like that. So if that's the goal, things change a little bit. And I think that um, coaches have to recognize that and make sure that they're treating clients' needs. It's probably not the best way to gain muscle. It's probably not the best way to gain speed and explosiveness. Really, I think just the goals are mixed and that people have to clarify what they want and coaches have to clarify what they're offering.
Right. Because I think, popular and people are always wanting to learn new things and try to get in shape. And it's really a turn on. But I mean, even though there may not be a longitudinal study explaining the potential negatives, there definitely, when you're learning an Olympic movement that takes Russians and Chinese and kids to start at 8 years old to even move the barbell with just the barbell, just
Yeah.
to learn the movement pattern, and you throw a 14-year-old girl in there who hasn't had any muscle, and they're trying to learn a power clean or a snatch or a clean and jerk,
Yeah.
and the coach can't teach 60 guys or 60 girls or 60 or of anyone how to do that
Sure.
because they're being coached by one person at once, individually, and they're looking at every single thing that's going wrong.
Mm.
So,
I just want to clarify something real quick. I'm not saying that if you do CrossFit, you have to do it with the goal of competition. Just the same way that if you do powerlifting, you have to enter it in with the mindset that I'm going to compete someday. That's not what I'm saying.
right, right,
I'm just saying that I think that it's a young sport, and I think that there's a lot to be developed.
right,
And I think that, like anything, you're going to find good coaches and bad coaches, and you're going to find good powerlifting coaches and bad powerlifting coaches, or coaches of any kind, and that the consumer really needs to have a more watchful eye of what's going on.
right. Because, I mean, you go into any gym and you'll see people doing stupid stuff, whether they're bodybuilders or powerlifters or CrossFitters.
Yep.
And I even went to a gym last week, and their coach seemed really to understand what the purpose of CrossFit, well, what his purpose and how to train them effectively, was basically kind of train them individually. But I mean, that's another topic of how to coach correctly.
Sure.
But overall, it seems like CrossFit doesn't deserve the hate that it receives. But there's always positives and negatives for every sport, and there's going to be negative coaches, bad classes, bad teachers. So really, you got to figure out your goals overall. I mean, that's all we're going to really talk about in this segment. Stay tuned for the next segment, and I'll see you there.